Paltrocast. Well, thank you all for taking the time today. Where are you dialing in from? In the middle of the US right now?
Ferndale, Michigan. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So this is a very interesting tour where you're playing a lot of the big Danny Wimmer festivals, yet you're also playing club shows. So how did you wind up with this great big US tour? Is it your booking agent?
No, so well, yes, but the idea started because I've noticed we were playing the same festivals at the same days, the same stage as Vukovi, so band from Glasgow that we really love. And we met them by coincidence at an event, and I brought up the idea of like, say, we're playing the same festivals. It would be great if we could tour together because those two festivals, Welcome to Rockville and Sonic Temple, are, there was like a gap in between them, and so they loved the idea, and then we brought it up with management, and yeah, and then it happened.
It happened. That comes after playing some very big festivals in the UK and Germany and having the BBC radio airplay. And, the big exposure keeps happening over and over and over again for your band. Now, let's backtrack from the success. And I'll throw it to Ben. I'll say, Ben, how did this band first come together? Is there a common bond or a common hobby?
So like we all met in London at shows. So like these guys came over from France and they were playing together and I was playing with
I come from Venezuela, but
Oh yeah. But yeah, like I was playing with some other people as well and our two bands shared the bill and that's how we met basically. And then yeah, I think we just found out that we had more and more in common musically. And yeah, one thing led to another and it happened.
Now, I'll throw that similar kind of question at Jess. Was there a band or an interest besides being at the same shows that kind of connects you all? Like, are you all secretly Star Wars people or Simpsons people or Metallica people, anything like that?
Well, the story is very long, so I'm gonna try to make it long story short. But I came to France when I was 16 and met Alizon. We had the same love for System of a Down,
Oh,
and yeah, that's just a lot of sci-fi. Yeah, as you said, like a lot of different things. But the common denominator was that we wanted to do these for the rest of our lives. So the idea was to come to England from the start. Since I was in Venezuela, my idea was to come to London. So I kind of dragged Alizon, well, willingly, into like an adventure. That's how we felt what it was. I could speak English, not great. I learned just for music. Alizon couldn't speak English at all. So when we first met Ben, we were just at playing like any shows that we could get. I mean, it was really hard to move different countries. I mean, I did it twice, but
yeah.
yeah, when we met Ben, Alison and Ben couldn't understand each other, so it was very funny. And we just, yeah, the love for doing what we're doing, even if it's really hard, that's what united us, I think.
Well, Alizon, had you traveled much before this band? Right now, you're always on the road in every country possible. But was that the start of your international travel?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're basically where we've always wanted to be everywhere. I remember dreaming about it when I was like 6 years old and not really come out of France before that. So going to London, moving to London with Jess, it was like, the start of the adventure and all the travels and everything, everywhere we've seen has been, together with the band.
Well, if I can compliment you all, or are you done with compliments today? Because sometimes people. Okay. One of the things I love most about Calva Louise is how versatile everyone is. It's not like you can go, this is all heavy, this is all soft, this is all in English. In other words, multilingual, multi volumes, multi genres, everything. Jess, sometimes we see you playing a lot of notes on the guitar. Sometimes you're playing a lot of notes on the keyboard. We don't know what's going to come next from your band. Is that organic that, we have to guess where everything is going as opposed to knowing what the game plan is?
Yes, well, unfortunately, is the only way we know how to make things, which is the hard way. But Yeah, of course. Like
It's a fun way.
it's a yeah. I mean, there's no other way. That's the thing for us. There's no other way for me to write music. There's no other way. Like it's. I love that I actually go 3 nationalities. So I love that I have a lot of multicultural in me. I mean, I grew up in Venezuela. Until I was 16. I mean, I learned French. I learned English, like all separately. But sometimes I wish it could be simpler. Sometimes I wish it's not it's not an inorganic thing. Like it's not oh yeah, we need to put some keyboard here. It's just what it is. It's like Spanish. Like I sing in Spanish because there's no other way for me to say it. I cannot say it in English. I don't know how to say it in English, what I mean, or things like that. So that it needs to be that way. And sometimes that makes things harder for us. Sometimes it makes it people don't get it. It's confusing. But we are confusing people. Like I feel like every human has a lot of duality, confusion. We are not very one thing. We're many things, and with us it's a bit more obvious because of like our story in terms of how we met, our individual stories. Because Ben grew up in New Zealand, for example. He's half English, half New Zealander.
Yeah.
And that thing I moved in where Alizon lived, it was all a coincidence. It's a very interesting, intricate story. So because our story is intricate, the music is intricate. It's because it's the only thing we know. So sometimes I spend a lot of time trying to simplify things, trying to make it simple, but that makes it more difficult to us. So it's either be authentic in confusion, in chaos, and a complete, we don't know what's coming next. And that's how life's always been. Because even when we moved to London, we didn't know where we're going to sleep. We didn't know who we're going to meet. We got scammed. We got robbed. We got a lot of things happened to us in London. We love and hate. Like but we wouldn't have it any other way, because that's the path for us. Like that's what it is. And then we gotta accept it, and then be grateful for the good things, and be grateful for the bad things, because they make it challenging. So I think that's why the music is the way it is. It's the only, I think, the only thing that we, the music is what we are as people. If that makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. And earlier you said System of a Down, and that I think is the only answer I needed, because sometimes System of a Down is quiet and mellow, and sometimes it's the angriest music you've ever heard. And I think that you can say the same about your band. The first song I heard from you was Con Corazon, and that has nothing to do with Under the Skin. Very, very, very different songs in great ways. Now, Ben, I'll throw this to you. We've heard now that different members speak French, Spanish, etc. Are you now picking up a little bit of every language on earth?
Like, you know what? Not really. I can't fluently speak any other language apart from English. But we've, like, especially in the early days of the band, we spent some time in France, so I picked up little bits of French, just like tiny little bits.
Ben was having full conversation with my family. Like it was pretty fun.
Like limited conversation.
I just gotta say, Alizon understands Spanish very well. Like,
well,
I can't say
right.
No, don't say that, because I cannot speak with my mom without him knowing what I'm saying. Like, it's he knows exactly. Like, he's like, I see, like, But it's we pick up it's yeah, all the languages that we're around, I guess.
Yeah. I understand a tiny bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as much as Alizon though.
Well, but little by little,
Tiny bits, yeah.
We just gotta tour in South America more, and then
they'll do it.
So it sounds like you folks cannot talk about each other without each other knowing that enough language that you can't secretly backtalk anyone.
Well, we don't backtalk. We just talk to our faces, like directly.
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of exciting touring has been going on in Europe and the US. You signed with Mascot Records. The only tour dates I know right now end in June, the Vicovi dates and all that. How far ahead is the band looking? Like, do you know what you're doing in 2025 already?
No, a little bit, but not much. Again, it's all very we like just go with the flow, like we go with what opportunities appear and things like that. We have a goal, of course, like we have a purpose. Honestly, the purpose is mainly the story, like tell the story, that many people are like, who cares about that? But that's what it's the most important in terms of videos, getting that across. Music is of course the most important thing for us to play live, is the thing that we enjoy the most. But the story still, while we play music, like to say something, to give something in terms of story wise, either our personal stories or like through the sci-fi story that we're trying to tell. So we got a lot of plans for that. Then everything that is logistic, that is like how things, like this tour with Bukovi, like it wasn't a year planned ahead. Things go start to appear, and then the pieces fall together. So we just go like that, like on the road right now we're doing an album.
Oh.
Thankfully technology again, like we can have like Logic, we mix with our friends Gareth from Pendulum and Mazzare, amazing producer from Italy. We do it through WhatsApp, like so it's things like that. It's not, we do as much as we can do every day, all day, every week. So we don't really rest much, but somebody's gotta do the things, and so we do them. So yeah, whenever opportunities appear, we think about them and grab them, and see like what makes sense, and then we go for it. We're a band, like that's been a bit difficult for us to adapt in terms of even in the UK and things like that, culturally and personally, sometimes things are done very differently. We had to adapt a lot to culture. So we just, go with what makes sense.
Right. Well, the last question that I have for all of you, and we'll start with Alizon first. What was the first album that you ever purchased?
Right, I'm pretty sure it was Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Wow. So you started with one of the biggest albums and most original albums of all time.
Yeah, it's still a personal favorite, obviously, to this day.
Wow. So you didn't start off with bad taste. That's what I'm getting.
It's
My
not
first
true.
album, I'm not
It's
ashamed
not
to admit
cool.
it, was an MC Hammer album. So in other words, I listened to the radio and then eventually got indie and metal and all that kind of stuff. You start off with The Wall?
Yeah, I don't know. I have my dad too. Thanks for that. Like he was like there was always music playing in the house. Like he was listening to a lot of like The Who, The Police, all these bands, Peter Frampton, all these kind of artists in the house. And so yeah, it's just kind of naturally gravitated towards rock and English rock first, and then US rocks, and then yeah.
Wow. Now, Jess, same question for you. What was your first album? I'm curious about that one.
Well, there's bootleg, like in Venezuela, like what we consider.
Can I interrupt you? I know this because I was in Chile 2 weeks ago, and I went vinyl shopping, and I bought a David Lee Roth album. I bought the Venezuela version.
Yeah, with Tobacco Road in Spanish.
That one was the album before that. That was all
right.
Just a Gigolo, but believe me, I know Tobacco Road. So I interrupted you. Your first album was a good bootleg?
Yeah, and I think it was Juanes.
Oh yeah.
It was a Juanes album, but I remember like the first like real album, like with the leaflet and things like that, because my parents would buy me a lot of like like on the street, like you buy albums. So I go like Juanes, Terciopelados,
Oh, yeah.
Dove, I think. There was also I think the first one it was like a gift. I got like a gift, like a ticket, for in a record store. I got 2 albums. No, wait, I think I got 4 albums. I got American Idiot. It just had come out. There was a Hilary Duff album because Hilary Duff and Avril Lavigne I love.
Yeah.
And there was Audio Slave as
Yeah.
well. The one with the fire. That
The
album.
one with Cochise on it. I think?
Yes. And like a stone. So I got that album. That more my dad, but I listened to that album religiously. And Kelly Clarkson. Yeah, I remember. So I had like the pop side and the heavier side of things.
The pop side, the Latin side, and the heavier side.
Yeah. That's yeah.
All over the place. Wow. And same at you, Ben. You have the last word here, and it's okay if your albums were like MC Hammer and not cool.
No, it would no MC Hammer. My first album I ever owned was Linkin Park's first album, Hybrid Theory, which my dad bought it for me, but I asked him to buy it. But it was the first one I owned. So yeah, there was that one. And I think soon after that, it was Simple Plan's second album.
Oh, yeah.
I had that in bootleg as well.
Yeah.
I had that in a little thin CD
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Wow. So, when I hear that Alizon, grew up with classic rock, Jess, you're all over the place in a good way between pop and heavier stuff. Ben, you start off with the rap rock stuff, then the pop punk. That explains to me why Calva Louise sounds like what it does. So that's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to everything that's to come from the band. Hope to see you live in New York later this month, but keep up the great work and best of luck on the road to you all.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It was
you.
great talking to you.
Yeah, so
My
so
pleasure.
Paltrocast.